now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, my friends, he's been making national and international news about immigration and also about a little girl who was going to die. And thanks to Congressman Barletta, she is alive today. My guest today, I just said, is Congressman Lou Barletta from the 11th Congressional District. Congressman, thanks for coming on the show.
Sam, always nice to be home.
How's Washington?
Same as when I left it. You know, they're still mixed up. Common sense isn't so common there.
It's amazing. You know, when you went down there, how many years? 4 years ago?
It's my third year.
It's a third year, and you said I wasn't going to get caught up with all the nonsense that's going on, and so far you've been maintaining that. How didn't they tar and feather you?
Well, they taught me well here in Hazleton. You know, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, I started the show off. We'll talk about immigration, but I think one of the interesting things here that really people should really listen careful to this is the story about this little Sarah Murnahan. Tell me the story, because you were telling me before the show, and I find it interesting because it was how God works in funny ways.
It's funny. You know, I serve on the Education and Workforce Committee. It was one of the committees. I'm on 3 committees, and I've been trying to get off of the committee because of it's been difficult serving on all 3. I went back to Washington a few weeks ago, and we went in to vote, and I overheard this story about this little girl down in the Philadelphia area who was going to die. She had 3 weeks to live if she didn't get a lung transplant. She's on a pediatric list, and you have to be, any child under the age of 12 goes on a pediatric list. But the truth of the matter is, Sam, it's really a death list for those children because there are so few lungs that are donated to children. Her parents, the doctors at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, had requested Secretary Sebelius to allow Sarah to go on the adult list because her doctors in Philadelphia said that an adult lung modified would work for Sarah. So I overheard the story, and I went home to my apartment, and I couldn't sleep thinking about this little girl. This is the part that I don't really believe is luck. The next day at my Education and Workforce hearing, Secretary Sebelius was coming to testify on Obamacare. So when I got up that morning, rather than ask the questions that I was prepared to ask about Obamacare, I Googled little Sarah's name and found out the story, how the parents had asked for a waiver and Secretary Sebelius had denied them to provide a waiver to let Sarah on the adult list. Did say that they would do a study, however the study would take about a year, and little Sarah obviously would be dead. So when it came to my turn to ask questions of the secretary, rather than talk about Obamacare, I asked some very pointed questions. I started out by asking the secretary if we would deny anyone a lung transplant based on the color of their skin, and she said no. I asked if they would deny anyone a lung transplant based on their gender, whether they were male or female. She said no. And I asked her, then why are you going to let a little girl die? Because she's 10 years old and not 12. And you could have heard a pin drop at that time, and her answer to me, she knew exactly what I was talking about. Her answer was chilling. She said, this is terribly agonizing. Yeah. Someone will live and someone will die. Sam, I went on to beg the secretary, stating that little Sarah wasn't asking to go to the front of the line. She was just asking to get in line. That this was a policy and a rule that was made years ago. And because medicine has advanced so much, her doctor said that an adult lung would actually work. Sarah was being denied that opportunity to live by a simple rule that the secretary wouldn't waive. And I went on to beg and plead that you are the one person that can save this little girl's life. And the secretary didn't budge much, but that confrontation went national. In fact, I got a call from Newt Gingrich, who saw the confrontation that we had, and a judge down in Philadelphia ruled, when Sarah really had about a week to live at this point, ruled that put a restraining order, a 10-day restraining order, stating that they could not discriminate against this little girl based on her age. And it gave her a small window, and Sarah actually was first in line because of her case, and received a lung transplant. The first set of lungs failed.
Was it because of the judge, or did the Secretary Sebelius give in?
No, the secretary did not give in. It was the judge ordered that they could not could not deny this girl.
So her final statement, well, I would suggest, sir, this again, that again, this is an incredibly agonizing situation when someone lives and someone dies. That was it.
That was it.
Okay. So it was not Secretary Sebelius who said, okay, I have a change of heart. It was the judge who did that.
In fact, the secretary told me that this would be unfair because the lungs that little Sarah would get really would belong to someone else. And my answer is that that's not true. Sarah's being denied the lungs that she deserves to get, the transplant that she deserves to get, that she should be on that list. Why would we let a child die simply because of their age? That was the only reason. If she were 12, she would have been at first in the list. And Sam, I think there's a bigger story to this.
Yes.
That this was just a preview of what Obamacare will bring to this country. When you have a bureaucrat making a decision over a doctor on whether a person lives or dies, I think is a good example of what is to come. If we would let a little girl die, I can't imagine what happens, if they're going to make these decisions for the elderly. I think the story really caught national attention for a number of reasons. One, a little girl's life was saved, and hope for other children. They still need to do the study, but in the meantime, there's hope for other children that if an adult lung would work on them, that they have another chance. And two, what Obamacare is going to bring to this country.
It's a funny thing, Lou, when you're talking about, it's unfortunate how misguided the American public is about this Obamacare, okay? And now when facts are going to really start hitting, it's going to be like, wait a minute, I didn't think it was going to be this. Young people really think this was, the college kids in their 20s think this is the best thing since sliced bread. Unfortunately, they're going to pay the price. They're going to see what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Congress has been fighting this, and evidently the mainstream media is not cooperating the way they should. You're going through the cracks a little bit, getting this information out. So when you're looking at Obamacare, and you're looking right now in California, and go to the Drudge Report, folks, and you'll see Aetna and United Health dropping their insurances. I get noticed, in fact, I just got a notification today from my supplier, I need to do certain things, and it's just going to become, so what happens is, as Romney said, and as the Republicans said at the time, more employers are going to say, wait a minute, we're just going to have to lay you off, et cetera. Where do you see this going, Lou?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. Employers are now realizing that they need to do everything that people warned was going to happen, and that's, especially if an employer has 50 employees or near 50, because if you're under 50, you don't have to cover anyone under Obamacare. They're laying people off. They're going to part-time workers under 35 hours. So we're seeing hours cut for workers. Again, this is all because of the cost of Obamacare. And, I voted over 30-some times to defund or repeal Obamacare. Obviously, we don't control the Senate. What we do in the House really won't change this. But I believe, Sam, I honestly believe that Obamacare will collapse under its own weight. Because all of everyone that predicted that the cost of Obamacare and what it was going to mean, it couldn't sustain itself. I think they're starting to realize that even in Washington, that this program isn't going to work.
What do you think is going to happen, though?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say whether whether the goal is to go into a single payer eventually, whether that is the ultimate goal of the administration. It's hard to say, but I don't believe that we've improved health care by instituting Obamacare. And again, employers are going to do what they have to do to try to stay in business, and health care is one of the major costs.
Well, first of all, on behalf of many people in the state of Pennsylvania and the country, we got to say thanks for saving this little girl's life.
I'm a father of four daughters, and Sam, that's what I thought about it. What if this was my daughter?
Yeah, or your grandchild.
Or my grandchild, and so.
Folks, I'm talking to Congressman Lou Barletta, 11th Congressional District of the state of Pennsylvania. Once again, I want to welcome all our Harrisburg viewers. Thanks for those beautiful emails you're sending to us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, you can watch us 24/7 on ssptv.com. Last month, 1.8 million hits we had on our internet, folks, on our website. Thank you very much. My email is sam@ssptv.com. My guest today is Congressman Lou Barletta, and we're going to talk about something now that you've been very upset, even with your own Republican colleagues in the Senate, about immigration, okay? To give our viewers a review, what is it that the Senate passed, and what is it that you're upset about?
Well, the Senate bill gives a pathway to citizenship to over 11 million illegal aliens who are in the country. It claims to do everything that the American people wish Washington would do. It claims that it will secure the border and do background checks, and that there will be a path for citizenship. But in the meantime, while all that's going on, those that are in the country illegally can now stay here legally, so that, in my view, that's not going to the back of the line. They can keep the jobs that they have, and they don't have to be fear of being deported. I've been an outspoken critic of this from day one because in my position, I feel what we should keep Ronald Reagan's promise to the American people that he made in 1986, the last time we gave amnesty. He promised the American people that we would secure the borders and this would never happen again. Now we're talking about well over 11 million. If you look at chain migration, what will happen, Sam, we're talking about 30 or 40 million people who will be here taking jobs away from an already scarce job market. We should keep that promise. We should simply secure the borders before we promise people that we're going to give them citizenship. We are selling American citizenship like a cheap suit. It is a privilege and an honor to be an American. Anytime we wave that carrot, it gives a green light to people all over the world to come to the United States illegally. Once you're here, you're protected. You don't have to hide. You don't have to worry about being deported. And then you could compete for jobs against the already 22 million Americans who can't find work, and all the legal immigrants that came to America for a better opportunity. With the 4th of July here, we talk about American greatness and what it means to be an American, and America offers an opportunity for a better life. And we're going to pull the rug out from underneath all the immigrants that came here, obeyed our laws, came here through the legal process, and we're going to make them compete for jobs and make it harder for their children in education. And Americans, the most vulnerable Americans, Sam, those are on the lower end of the economic ladder. What happens to the single mom that's working 3 jobs when she gets pushed out of a job? What happens to the high school dropout when his job is taken away from him? Where do they go? Who's speaking for the people, the victims of illegal immigration? And unfortunately, the focus is always on what do we do about the 11 million that are here illegally? Well, what about that mom? What do we do about them? What do we do about the 22 million Americans that can't find work? Who's speaking for people who did nothing wrong and will be victims of this policy?
Lindsey Graham, Senator. McCain, Senator. Republicans, who you would think the way you're thinking, but they think the bill that they passed is a great bill.
Well, Sam, I'm going to be very honest. I believe there's all politics behind this policy, and we shouldn't be making policy based on politics. It should be what's ever in the national best interest of the American people. Because if it wasn't politics, everyone claims that they want border security. We want to secure the borders. The Senate said that's what they want. The House members said that's what they want. The Democrats claim that's what they want. The Republicans claim that's what they want. Then why in the heck aren't we doing it? If this is something we all agree on, why don't we just secure the borders? Then have the discussion with the American people on what do you do with the folks that are here. The fact of the matter is they really want to get to the second part, and that is the pathway to citizenship, because they are fighting for votes. It wasn't until the November election, All of a sudden, immigration became the most important issue in Washington. I've been screaming since 2006 while I was mayor here in Hazleton, but nobody in Washington wanted to listen. But immediately after the last election, it becomes the most important issue, and that's why I believe it is more politically driven than what is best for America.
And the sad part, I think, is I was listening yesterday on Caputo, where they interviewed a person. There was in South Carolina. There's a problem now with Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham, and it was the Tea Party, and they said that what they're actually doing is selling their souls here. They're selling their souls for votes, okay? And he's a proud American, and he thinks Americans should stick up. And it's not an anti-Hispanic thing. And I think that since the election, and you're right, Lou, when the election happened, and all the Hispanics came out, you know, and of course all the entitlement people came out and said, look, I'm used to not working, you just keep on feeding me, and I want to have my 4 access cards, and welfare was going through the roof, and the Hispanics said, look, we want our people here, etc., which I understand. You know, aren't you, I mean, how do you sit with your Republican, you know, those people are concerned about votes and not worried about what you're worried about or concerned about?
You know, I've been, again, they know where I stand on this issue. And, you know, I haven't wavered one bit in Washington from where I was when I got there.
Where does Boehner stand?
This shouldn't be about votes. So I've made it clear to the speaker, you know, that this is the wrong thing for America. Our immigration laws are put in place for 2 reasons. 1, to protect our national security, and 2, to protect American jobs. This bill violates both of those principles. It doesn't make us any safer. It doesn't make it any easier to find a job, and it won't stop illegal immigration. So why in the world would we do it? Only because it's about votes. And I think the American people can see that. Even the Latino population, who will be affected the most by that, because they're now going to have to compete with 20 or 30 million more people for their job. When you come to America for an opportunity for a better life for your family, let's give it to them. Let's give the immigrants that are here a better chance to find that job, a better chance to get a good education for their children. But this is really what is driving this, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop it.
Where does it sit right now?
Well, the Senate passed their bill. I believe the Senate bill has no chance in the House of Representatives. Speaker Boehner said that he was going to, whatever bill we vote on in the House must have the majority of the majority. So, you know, when I go back, you know, we're going to work real hard to make sure that we craft, and if I have my way, the bill will be border security. Let's secure our borders. There are people that want to harm Americans. There are people that want to come here and take American jobs. We should protect our borders, and it's not only people crossing the southern border. Nearly half of the people that are in this country illegally didn't cross the Mexican border. They come on a visa. The visa expires, and they simply disappear. They don't go home, and we have no way of tracking them. What happened in Boston should be a good warning sign to why we need to know who's coming in our country and whether or not they leave when they're supposed to.
When you're looking at the political ramifications here, okay, and unfortunately, sometimes the American people are deceived, as they were deceived with Obamacare. And when they start getting affected by it, then it's like, oh, I like when people say, well, geez, I didn't know this was going to be this. And I didn't know this was, and we've been saying this for years. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The thing is, how does the Republican Party, and if it was reverse, it would be that, I mean, I'm not here Republican or Democrat. If you were a Democrat, you'd be saying the same thing. How does the Republican Party get the message out when you have a media that's right now has some egg on their face because they've known they supported this guy, and now they see some problems. They don't know how to get out of it. Folks, I'm talking to Congressman Barletta. We'll come back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and my guest is Congressman Lou Barletta. Folks, the Drudge Report yesterday headlines, United Health to exit individual insurance market in California. Aetna will exit California individual health insurance. And we talked a little bit about this, folks. You know, we can watch this show anywhere, 24/7 on SSP TV. I highly recommend you tune it in if you didn't get the first part with Congressman Barletta talking about Sarah Moynihan. And thanks to you, she's alive today, Congressman. We talked about, I wish another half hour. We talked about the immigration. We talked about Sarah. Now the IRS situation, okay, which sort of like stunned everybody. Where's the House with this? Have they buried this? Is it like it's forgotten about? Or
Oh,
what?
not at all. I think we just saw the tip of the iceberg. The House really wants to get to the bottom of this and really who was involved. Was this just some low-level employees in Cincinnati that decided to audit and go after conservative groups? Now remember, Sam, the IRS is the most powerful agency in the federal government. They can close your business tomorrow if they wanted to. If they decide to come in here, they can put you in jail if they want to. This is a very serious case, and on the House, they want to get to who really made this decision. How far did this go? They want to get to the bottom of it. It's sad, really. It's a very sad situation because we've been seeing our freedoms as we go in, again, talk about the 4th of July. We've been seeing our freedoms taken away from the American people little by little. We're fighting the religious freedom where Obamacare is making us choose between God and government. An attack on the Roman Catholics, on Catholics and their religious beliefs, and now we have an agency that's for political reasons is going after certain individuals. The loss of trust of our government, I believe, is at an all-time low, and that's why it is very important that we get to the bottom of who really made this decision to do this.
Are you involved in any committees with this?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay. And where are they at right now? Are they going to resume this?
Yeah, they're continuing. Some of the employees had taken the 5th, obviously, but they're going to start at the bottom and work their way up.
The unfortunate thing is, I don't know many IRS agents, but the agents that I have come across with are decent people. I mean, the local. Sure. I mean, they're decent, and that's unfortunately to have someone scar people who have been working hard, okay, and doing their job. It's like you get scarred because of people in politics, and the workers are taking the blunt of it.
And whether that faith could ever come back and trust back into that agency is a question of where we going in the future with the IRS. Remember, in Obamacare, Sam, 16,000 new IRS employees have been hired, which makes you fear. Will people be singled out again on Obamacare?
So if you had to make a prediction, okay, with immigration, what do you think is going to happen in the House?
Well, I'm hoping in the House that we do not pass a bill that is anything more than border security. I believe that's what we owe the American people.
And what happens then in the Senate?
What happens then, Sam, is that a bill could go to conference because it will be different than the Senate bill. Both leadership will pick conferees, and they will be people who will go and meet on the Senate side, House Republicans and Democrats, and the Senate the same, and come out with a bill. And, again, the end product, if it is not anything more than border security, I believe, it won't have my support.
Congressman, thanks for coming to the show. You remind me of a good friend of mine, Bishop James Timlin. I interviewed him in 1996, and if I would get that interview I did with Bishop Timlin and ask him the same questions now, he would give me the same answers. And it's a pleasure to deal with a congressman like you, Lou, that has been forthright right from the start. You have not vacillated. You have not changed. You said what you're going to say, and you've done it, and that's why I have so much respect for you as a congressman. And just wish you the best and wish that everyone use common sense. The bishops and the cardinals today are having a difficult time knowing what direction they're going to go into, and that's another story. Folks, U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta from the 11th Congressional District, we always thank you for coming on the show. Remember, you can watch this show 24/7, ssptv.com. Thank you so much for the emails. We'll see you next time.